Hello and welcome, this is Noah with Nomad Gaming, and we are here with a video for the Marvel Champions LCG, which is a living card game produced and distributed by Fantasy Flight Games. Today we have a player card review for the Black Panther hero set. We're going to cover the hero, the signature cards, the archenemy and encounter cards, and how he plays with each aspect. Today we're going to be answering the question, is it truly good to be the king? Black Panther is one of the 5 heroes included with the core set. As you well know, heroes come as two-sided player identity cards that start with their alter ego side face up. Obviously, T'Challa, King of Wakanda, is the alter ego for Black Panther, so let's take a look at the statistics. On the alter ego side, he's going to have a 4 recover, 6 hand size, and 11 health. As our hero, Black Panther has a base stat line of 222 for thwart, attack, and defense. Hand size is reduced to 5, and we keep that 11 hit points. As we see from the graphic, he carries a fairly average array of the basic stats. To better understand what makes this guy King of the Mountain, we need to understand what he does and how. In hero mode, T'Challa carries the King and Wakanda keywords as a setup ability, Foresight, which reads, Setup, search your deck for Black Panther upgrade and add it to your hand, shuffle your deck. So right off the bat, the starting hand size of 6 is going to become 7. Depending on what scenario or role you're playing, you have access on turn 1 to a Swiss Army knife of the Black Panther suit. Need direct damage, you can get that. Need thwart, that's done. But keep in mind, the suit is conditional, and we'll discuss how we activate those superpowers when we look at our signature cards in just a moment. With the single-use setup ability, there isn't a lot of motivation for us to stick around as king, so let's flip over and take a look at our hero form and his abilities. Again, on hero side, we see the Wakanda trait, but instead of king, we're now an Avenger. This has some synergies with existing player cards and is worth keeping in mind during the game. His text box only includes the ability Retaliate 1, which will deal 1 damage to an attacking character after we defend. As we see here, there has been some clarification about Retaliate. And defending on the official FAQ published by Fantasy Flight Games, these 2 questions address targeting, attacking, and defending, and clarify that when we choose to defend with an ally, our identity is not attacked and will not trigger the retaliate. It stands to reason, however, that when Black Panther defends an attack for another player, Black Panther is being attacked and will retaliate appropriately. So really, we are seeing a steady addition of damage to the villain and minions throughout play, even outside of the protection aspect. Black Panther does a pretty decent job of healing on his own, so this is not going to be a trivial ability. However, if you are playing against a scenario that doesn't put a lot of minions into play or force extra attacks, the advantages of his abilities are somewhat mitigated. We all know that the King in the Jungle relies on pretty nifty tools to get his job done, so let's take a look at his associated signature cards to see how that works. Again, each hero in Marvel Champions comes paired with 15 signature cards that must be included in every deck for that hero. Let's explore what makes our Black Panther pool unique. The first thing that stands out is the inclusion of 5 copies of Wakanda Forever. This is a full third of the signature cards for our hero, and depending on the deck building, could represent up to an 1/8 of the card pool in our deck. Seeing 5 or 6 cards per turn means that we're going to have this guy in our hand early and often. The text of Wakanda Forever is a hero action which resolves the special ability of each Black Panther upgrade in sequence. More on the details of that in a moment. Why don't we take a look at what our Black Panther upgrades can do. There are 4 total upgrades in the deck, each is a 2 cost. Energy Daggers is going to provide area of effect damage to all of the minions and villain engaged with a target player. That's 1 damage to each minion and villain, or 2 damage if it's the final step in the sequence. Tactical Genius brings threat reduction, removing 1 threat from the scheme, or 2 if it's the last step of the sequence. Panther Claws is going to dole out 2 single target damage, or 4 if it's the last step of the sequence, and the Vibranium suit brings both healing and indirect damage by moving 1 damage, 2 if it's the last step, from our hero to an enemy. Again, the folks at FFG have added some clarification to that this transfer counts as damage, so it would be absorbed by a tough status card and remove that card from the enemy. It's absolutely clear that ordering the sequence is going to make a huge difference in the outcome, and it only takes a little hypothetical play to work out how. Here we can see 3 different ways to resolve the sequence on a full set of Black Panther's armor. The top sequence is going to remove 1 threat from a scheme, move 1 damage from Black Panther to an enemy, deal 1 damage to every enemy engaged with a player, including the villain, and end up with 4 damage on an enemy of our choice. The middle sequence would deal 2 damage to an enemy of our choice and remove 1 threat, move 1 damage to an enemy, but deal 2 damage to every enemy engaged with the player and the villain. In the final sequence, we would deal 1 damage to each enemy engaged with a chosen player and the villain, remove 1 threat, deal 2 direct damage, but then we would heal 2 and deal 2 to an enemy. It's good to recall that the early steps in the sequence will peel away tough status cards and give us the opportunity to pile on other damage from the suit, so that's part of the strategy that we're going to want to employ. Since most of what Black Panther's actions come from his suit and the Wakanda Forever cards, the question remains, how do we make sure that we get this whole suit set up? Apparently, the Marvel Universe is rife with geniuses, Tony Stark, Peter Parker, and now Shuri, but I am sure I won't be complaining when I get this one in my hand. Shuri is a 2-cost ally with 1 thwart, 1 attack, and 3 health. She's going to take 1 consequential damage for her thwart and attack actions. She has the Genius and Wakanda traits, and her text reads, response, after Shuri enters play, search your deck for an upgrade and add it to your hand. Shuffle your deck. Depending on when you get this in the game, your choice could sway the outcome of a scenario. If you can find a way to put her into play a couple of times per game, you'll be able to pull the whole suit from your deck. She's literally the Swiss Army knife of Wakanda. But Shuri and the suit are not the only treasures that we can find when we're in Wakanda. Wakanda is, of course, the world's source of vibranium, the powerful and valuable resource responsible for giving us things like the Black Panther's claws and Captain America's shield. With double wild resources and 3 copies in our deck, this stuff is going to smooth out paying for all those 2-cost cards we just saw. The whole suit is 2-cost, Shuri is 2-cost, the Golden City is 2-cost. I see a design synergy here, and I certainly appreciate it. Not only are these going to make it easier for us to get out our signature cards, but having 3 extra double resource cards per deck is going to change the way that we think about things like Avengers Mansion or Nick Fury. Staple 4-cost cards that would otherwise require us to discard a handful of fun stuff to get them into play now are going to cost less when we can do 2 resources with 1 card. It could be a tough decision about how and when we spend those resources, but Wakandans even have a way to make that a little easier. Although King T'Challa doesn't have an earth-shaking or game-breaking ability, when he sits on the throne, he's going to have access to the final 2 signature cards, and boy, they might be worth a turn without that full suit. The 1-cost event, Ancestral Knowledge, is going to allow us to take 3 different cards from our discard pile and shuffle them back into our deck. Now, for those of you already scheming to replay your 3 Wakanda Forever next turn, FFG has already clarified that different cards are determined by card title and subtitle, not by card number or resource icons. So, we can only get back 1 Wakanda Forever and 1 Vibranium suit at a time. But a lost piece of the suit, Shuri for round 2, or a basic resource card for strength, energy, or genius make excellent targets, especially when the player deck is low and we know that we're going to be drawing them right back up. Speaking of drawing cards, only the king can delve into the riches of the Golden City to set up his plans. The Golden City is going to give us the alter ego action, exhaust the Golden City to draw 2 cards. Nobody has ever said no to free cards, and getting this early or late can really lead to a powerful turn with Ancestral Knowledge and the right pulls from your bin. Hopefully you too can see the power of Wakanda in this hero and his signature cards. I've had a lot of fun with different builds of the Black Panther, although I will admit the balance between when and how to get out the suit takes a lot of practice. Of course, Black Panther's brother is waiting to spoil the day, so let's take a quick peek at the Nemesis and Encounter cards that go with this hero. Here you see Killmonger, the assassin, elite mercenary, and the nemesis of Black Panther. He has 2 scheme and 2 attack with 5 hit points, and his text certainly reigns on the Wakanda Forever parade. It says, Killmonger cannot take damage from Black Panther upgrades. So no, you can't get rid of him that easily. Additionally, his side scheme, Usurp the Throne, is going to draw out an additional encounter card per round, and has a chance to slam us with one of the Nemesis treacheries that we can see here. The first being Heart-Shaped Herb, and this certainly is tough to handle. It has Surge and says, when revealed, give the villain and each minion engaged with you a tough status card. It also has the Boost effect, which plops a tough card on the villain. And Ritual Combat is going to be an easy way to end the game quickly. Its when revealed effect discards the top card of the encounter deck and then requires us to add threat or take damage equal to the number of boost icons on the discounted card. Of course, Black Panther carries the obligation of his title and calling, Affairs of State, will either make us exhaust T'Challa or discard a Black Panther upgrade. With few ways to get an upgrade back from the discard pile, I think it's going to be difficult for a lot of players not to choose to exhaust T'Challa. But in those cases, hopefully we're ready to check in with our ancestors and mine some gold back home. That's going to conclude the card reviews from the Black Panther Hero and Nemesis sets. But before jumping into aspect-specific strategy talk, my general observations and thoughts are that this hero is going to spend much of the game in hero form. He can deal with threat and minions and heal all without having to go to Alter Ego. His signature pool supports this and gives you plenty of reason to stay in costume. There may be a turn late in the game where you can jump back into Alter Ego and get a big swing with Ancestral Knowledge and the Golden City, and maybe even some other card draw. I like the idea of the extra resources from Vibranium, but in my playthroughs I'm struggling to balance when to use those expensive player cards at the expense of developing my suit. I mean, there are 5 Wakanda Forevers in the deck, and it is hard to basically forgo 9 of our 15 signature cards to try to play 4 or 5 cost cards using Vibranium as a backbone. When you take the traditional route, though, you have to get your upgrades out and shine. I have had a couple of games go south where you don't draw Shuri or a Black Panther upgrade for a couple of turns, and you really probably want to take a hard mulligan to stock up your hand early so that you can play it slow at the start to develop your board state. I've also noticed that the retaliate damage can pile up on villain and minions, but it is still more of a bonus than a build around. You can lose the game in 2 ways, too much threat and too much damage on your hero. It is too easy to fall prey to an unexpected second or third attack or even a surprise scheme when you've been taking damage and letting retaliate do its thing. That said, let's think about how the various aspects interact with what we want to be doing as Black Panther. In aggression, we know we want to do stuff. We know what we want to do. Smash stuff. Several cards give bonuses when you defeat your enemies, like Hall of Heroes, Battle Fury, and Chase Them Down. These can work well with the versatility of the Black Panther suit and can benefit from waves of small damage hitting minions. The other nice thing about aggression is that there aren't a lot of cards that I feel a total regret for spending as resources in the aggression pool. Aggression cards are kind of all tools of the same task, deal damage. So if one goes into the bin, I know another's going to be coming out into my hand a few moments later. As far as justice goes, this is going to shine in a multiplayer game. After you get your suit set up, you can focus all your resources on some of the kind of group hug elements of this aspect. Remember, Black Panther isn't going to spend a lot of time in Alter Ego form, so he isn't contributing a lot to the additional threat that can build up, and he can allow companion heroes like Iron Man to stay in Alter Ego form for extra turns. Since most of the suit deals damage, it provides a good complement to the threat-focused theme of our justice aspect. There are some fun interactions available to us in the leadership aspect. Make the Call is great with Shuri to get your suit set up and can get things rolling pretty quick. With Vibranium in the signature card pool, you're going to be able to pay for some of the more expensive things in the game, Avengers Mansion, Vision, etc. And those 4-cost cards don't look too bad when you have 8 double resource cards in your deck. Hawkeye Clint Barton is a staple ally in leadership, and his ability to add 2 damage to revealed enemies pairs very well with the retaliate ability on Black Panther to manage our board and keep things clear. I've been playing a version of a leadership Black Panther deck that looks to use allies to protect the threat on the main scheme while we get things set up, and then tries for a flurry of Wakanda Forever to finish things off. It's been a lot of fun, and the main difficulty has been the early game choices between suit building or playing out those allies and support abilities. Finally, we get to take a look at protection. I generally find that protection somewhat builds itself, but it's filled with good control elements that can give Black Panther time to get things set up. A lot of cards you want to on the table are going to carry 2 or 3 costs, and that gives you an opportunity to take advantage of the riches of Wakanda. I do like Nova and Luke Cage quite a bit, and both of them have abilities that will help us execute our main strategy to stay in hero mode and use our suit. For your edification and critical commentary, this is a list I was referencing earlier for the leadership Black Panther. I've been prioritizing some of the setup cards over signature cards early and then setting up the full suit on the second time through the deck. I do spend more time in Alter Ego than many would consider prudent, but using allies to keep threat down has proven to be pretty effective. And that is going to wrap it up on our Black Panther Hero review with Nomad Gaming. We hope that you've enjoyed this content, and if you did, please give us a like, share, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. Feel free to check out our other videos and stay tuned to the channel for upcoming live play and more hero reviews. Until next time, let's go game.